Right, I hope everyone had a great lunch. We are at the end. A couple more hours together as an inquiry community, and then we're off. So we're going to go over upcoming events. So we wanted to share a few upcoming events this fall. The one that I want to highlight is Growing Learning Lab Facilitators. So in this is a 2-day event where you would learn how to facilitate a learning lab in your context. A learning lab is a job-embedded professional learning where you provide space for educators to have dialogue and collective inquiry around teaching and learning related to the early math essentials. So in this 2-day event, you will learn how to facilitate a learning lab, you will get resources, you will be a part of a learning lab network to provide continued support. We have follow-up virtual sessions as well that could help you in planning and facilitating a learning lab. And a select few can also receive coaching support in the facilitation of the learning lab.
And the next one we would like to showcase is the basic fact, Train the Trainer. Many people have asked for a Train the Trainer model, and that's not really the way that we have been producing the work. However, we will be working with Dr. Gina Kling, who is now at Hope College. She was formerly at Western Michigan University, works very closely with many researchers, and she has developed a full-day training for us as leaders of mathematics to think about fact fluency with 3 additional follow-up sessions. The full-day session will be face-to-face near the Lansing area, and then there'll be 3 virtual follow-ups to support you in supporting the educators you work with. And?
Adding on one piece to the basic facts. So Dr. Kling has developed resources that can be used by us to support either grade level teams or larger groups in learning the content and thinking about that content. So know that the resources that you'll get will be enough for you to chunk out maybe an hour piece during a staff meeting for learning. So it's chunked in about hour pieces that you can use throughout a school year. The last one that we'll highlight, and then we'll get into the conversation, is in the bottom right of the screen, which is instructional rounds. I had the opportunity to spend some of the morning in the Learning Lab session, and there was a lot of conversation around learning labs, and instructional rounds also came up, and those are different things. Sonia did a great job of talking about learning labs. We also are developing a Train the Facilitator for the process of instructional rounds. So we've partnered with Steve Seward to develop the resources needed to take and facilitate instructional rounds with those that we serve in our context. So those are 3 additional things that are coming up. Most of them, I think, that were on that screen are in the registration system. If they're not, they will be in the next week or 2.
You'll find the registration system at events.gomaisa.org. Click on Early Math for each of those.
So we wanted to take this opportunity to hear your takeaways from the morning sessions that you attended today, or just overall takeaways from the Institute. And so in a minute, you're gonna stand up, put your hand up, and find a partner or someone that you haven't chatted with in a while, and share a takeaway either from the morning session or the Institute that will support you in bringing the essential instructional practices to life. So we'll give you about 3 minutes to have that conversation, and then we'll collect 3 to share out, whole group.
So go ahead, stand up, put your hand up, pair up with a friend. Give them a big high five for making it this far. Macy and see this talk. It's like, well, we haven't. So, that's the purpose. We want it used out of context. So, I explained it as I know that there's people that had to go to the retainer sessions that might have wanted to hear this as well. She's just worried about getting posted on YouTube.
Oh, Macy and Missy both of them?
Macy. Macy's worried about that.
Yes, because her topic is like
Yes.
where it can be taken out of context. 30 seconds? I think I'm 30 seconds. I'll just stop.
Yeah, for 30 seconds. Want me to do that?
Oh, no. I was just saying.
That's probably enough. Yeah. I mean, if we can get these people out of here early, I would do that. Like, well,
That would be I don't know about you. I just do that.
yeah. Give them the 30 seconds.
I think should I do All right, let's wrap up our conversations. All right, let's wrap up our conversations. Let's take 3 volunteers who would like to share either their takeaway or their partners from the morning sessions or overall institute.
Macy used a strategy earlier today that if you made eye contact with whoever was holding the microphone, you were it. That might work for you, Laura and Jill. Make some eye contact.
Nope, everybody does this.
Is it Carrie? Not sure.
My friend.
I made eye contact.
No, you're my friend.
So we both actually talked a little bit about the impact that just having heard about storylines that we can now see them going forward, and that impacts how you approach people and see the complexity of change and recognize that things are happening or not happening for reasons. There are whatever storylines or whatever circumstances, and that being alert to that can then impact how we approach people and situations and working in our areas.
That's so powerful. Using storylines as a lens.
We talked about, so I'm early childhood, she's secondary lenses. So we talked about using some of this information to really make sure that that spectrum, going back to like where our students are at, and making sure that that spectrum is cohesive and implementing some of these practices, whether it's a preschool child or a child entering 6th grade.
Thanks, Carrie.
So my takeaway was huge in this last session. I went to the online learning modules with Missy. I appreciate you putting that together. In accessing the modules, using them to put forward this work in my early childhood world, learning about EduPaths and having access to that, opening up the possibilities of how I and my team can move this forward and bring these wonderful things to our early childhood providers.
Thank you. Yes, those modules could be a powerful tool within your professional learning system for sure.
Can we give it a high five, big wave, round of applause to the facilitators of those afternoon sessions, morning sessions? If there is anyone in the room that facilitated a session this week, supported us in any way, know that we super appreciate you. This conference couldn't have gone on without you, but please, as you see them, it's nice to get accolades. I just heard Missy's name, which is super sweet. But as you see them and you're walking out today, please just give them a pat on the back and say thank you for sharing your expertise. We have a pretty amazing team of leaders across the state, and we really are appreciative of all the work that all of you have done. With that being said, there's going to be some prizes this afternoon, and we need to collect information of who is still in the room. If you can advance my slide 1, thank you. If you'll scan on your way back this QR code, we're only asking for your first and last name, and then we'll be doing a random number generator to give away some prizes after Paul Liebenau's session, his keynote at the end of the day. And so if you'd like to be, okay, we can get that for you in a second here. Who's in the room? Rusty, can you ask Nick to give some permission to people outside of MAISA probably? Thank you. We might have to refresh. So Paul has a bunch of prizes from MEMSPA that he's going to give away, from books to coasters to, I think there's some shirts back there, and there's some socks. Thought that was an interesting giveaway. And then there is a grand prize of something from Cherry Republic, like a nice package from Cherry Republic. So we're going to be giving those away. And so just collecting your name and your information is helpful. Should be working now if you just hit refresh. It's just quick, first name, last name. I'm really interested to see who grabs the socks from MEMSPA.
So as an inquiry community, we've been grappling with the question how to support leaders and educators in bringing the early math essentials to life. You've been working in teams, and so we thought that right now, today, it would be a good opportunity for you to network and connect with someone that has a similar role as you. And so we're going to use a protocol for you to have that conversation with someone who has a similar role and responsibilities.
We'll have 5 different groups in the room, and those groups are listed on the screen. We want to make sure that we've collected the right groups of people because we can quickly make a 6th group if we need to. So look on the screen and think about, do you fit into one of those categories or more than one? We'll ask you to make a choice. And if you don't, give us a quick wave and we can create one. We wondered, do we need one for educators? Are there educators in the room? Would you appreciate that? Okay, we're going to call you group 6, and you'll meet in the middle over here. We'll meet you over there with some materials as well. Okay, so educators can be group 6. Any other categories that you would hope that we'd add? Say that again. I would think I would put local coaches with district and building leadership. Any others? Okay.
All right, so we've numbered the space in the room where you will meet. We think for this portion you will need a marker. Or any other material where you have been taking notes and just reflecting on your context and what changes you're thinking of making after you leave today. And once you're in your spot, if you could just face the front, and we'll give you the next set of directions.
Be sure to grab a marker from your table because we did not set those over there. Rusty, if you can grab 3 posters to put over for that group, that'd be great. But if you feel like you would rather go like an educator group, that would be cool. But I think that would be, you could inform there. Yes, sir. I think so. No, just 2, I think. Yeah. I can paraphrase. Yes, of course, always. Over here. What? Going the wrong way. Okay. You want to do the questions? Yeah. Joe's over the top. Where are my friends that are in the middle? Rusty's helping them find a spot. Oh, he's making another group. Oh, he's... Okay, we'll help you with the protocol. If everybody would face this way, we'll give you the protocol. It looks like we have quite a few of this group. So if you feel like you need to make more posters over there in this back group, feel free to grab 3 extra posters and split into 2. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a marker talk. Children are really good at this one. Leaders and educators typically are not. The way a chalk talk works is without talking, you respond to prompts using a marker. So you keep your mouth closed and you use your marker to write and respond. And so what that would look like is there are 3 prompts on the posters. You're going to take your marker and you're going to think through and just respond anonymously on the poster. When you have put your thoughts on all 3 of those posters, if you have some, then you're going to go back and you're going to, at your own leisure, respond to others using your marker instead of your voice. So you might make a comment like, that happens to me too. Or you might put a star or a big smiley face or a check mark or an exclamation point. You might write a few words. You might draw an arrow that say these are the same things or these are very connected. And so we're going to do some writing on the poster together to help us think through like what are the responses to those 3 questions that are coming up. So your time will be on your own. You're going to pace yourself. You'll respond to each of those, and then go back and read what's on those and make some comments using your marker. We're going to try not to talk during that time, so it's a bit reflective. We will give you a chance to chat after everybody has had time to respond, and then on their own, and then respond to others.
So each person will silently respond to the questions on the chart paper, and then take a moment to read how others responded and make connections, either offering a personal reflection or an I agree, or I would like to know more about. And you will do that for about 6 minutes. And then there is someone in your group that will lead you in a small group conversation around some of the key noticings that you're finding on the chart paper. And then we will come back together and have each group share out some of those key noticings and findings.
Facilitators of the group, if you feel like you have too many people to be writing on just 3 posters, feel free to put another poster at the side so that we just number it 1, 2, 3. The prompts are up here. So there's extra poster paper on each side. Rusty's standing with some, and there's some near the educator middle part over here.
We're thinking this is going to take about 10 minutes.
Go ahead and respond. I have to say that this is the largest group I've ever done a marker talk with, and this is the quiet it has been ever. Whether it's with children or with adults, I've done this with like 6 people, and they're louder than all of you. So thank you for following the protocol. Give yourself some snaps for that. Pretty impressive. At each group, we have a leader or a person who has kind of been nudged into leading a conversation so that you can kind of collect some common ideas that are across your 3 different questions. So we were wondering, what are you reimagining? What are your challenges? And then what are your next steps? And so what our hope is that as a community of educators, community of math consultants, community of ISD level leaders, that you can come together and think about what are some common ideas that we're wondering about. This is going to help us make next steps for the different groups that we are working with. Okay, so there will be someone is going to be bringing it together to kind of look for commonalities, and then we're going to ask each group to share out. So we are the educators. Here are our challenges. These are our next steps. That's what we're looking for. We're going to give you about 7 minutes to kind of consolidate some ideas for us. Feel free to keep writing and collecting information on those posters. Group leaders, you have about 30 seconds to consolidate your ideas, and we're going to start a share out. You're going to go first, about 30 seconds. Yes, ma'am. "30 seconds." It's- yes, we're going to go back and forth. Sonia's got a mic over there. We're just going to facilitate from the ground. Yep. As we planned for the Institute, we were incredibly purposeful. Let's come back together. As we planned for the Institute, we were really purposeful in thinking about who might make up teams that are representing ISDs. We hoped that teams had consultants, had directors, had special education, had early childhood, had local representation. Whatever team you put together is the right team for you at this point in time. But we heard over and over again over the last couple of days how nice it was to sit down and think about math with this person sitting next to you. I heard that over and over again. Our point right now is to think about as a community of like roles in different districts or ISDs. Let's share some common next steps, some common things that you are reimagining, some common challenges across each of these roles. We often have opportunities to meet together in roles, but together as a team sometimes doesn't happen on a regular basis, even though we're working in similar places. So we're going to start out with, I believe we're at ISD level. Who's your speaker?
So we're the ISD, GELN, and special ed directors and leaders. For reimagining, we really looked at focusing, aligning, trying to get everything going the same direction, and then really aligning our PD with adult learning principles and treating adults as real people and learners and not empty buckets that we're just going to fill up with PD and then go off and do your thing. Challenges, time was a huge one that was there, not just time in the day, but also time throughout the year. We talked a lot about conflicting schedules, and you've got to pick, I can go to this or I can go to this, and I can't be in two places at once. And then talent was the second one. We had a lot of things about getting the right people at the table, or the right people have 5 different hats, and I don't know which hat I'm going to get today. And then treasure. There's never enough money. There's too much money in this area. There's not enough here. And then our time's getting sucked up by all these supplementals that we've got to help people figure out. The final one, looking at our actionable step, hopefully that is we had it in other areas, but I'm hoping it's our actionable step, and that is to start working together, not just at our local districts and at our ISDs to get everybody on the same page and get them out of their silos, but also thinking about the early math task force, the literacy task force. We've got all these different pieces running at the same time, and looking at the PD menu, a lot of that is not math specific, and we want to get everybody talking that same language and not have this turn into just the math thing.
Thank you. We are certainly all better together. And leveraging some of these ideas and opportunities is one way that as a state we can move forward. You mentioned adult learning principles and trying not to fill buckets of empty vessels of the leaders and educators that we're working with, and treating our leaders as adult learners. That's a really important piece, and that is one of the programs that we have offered that we have invited any leader in the state to attend. So if you have someone that you think might value that work, please invite them to attend our adult learning principles. It's not for only math leaders. We have leaders of every area that we're trying to support in supporting adult learners.
Next, we're going to hear from ISD consultants, math specialists, or coaches. Some things that you're challenged by, or some next steps that you're thinking of.
Is this on? Okay. I just want to say that this is my 3rd day on the job, so I just want to give a huge thanks to Kim for volunteering me for this. One thing that I appreciate that so much. So one thing we talked about for reimagining is just joy and how we can bring that into all of our professional learnings that we're doing and into our districts so they can in turn bring that to buildings and ultimately reach the students. We also talked about embracing the hot mess. So looking at reimagining roles and being flexible within our time and how we can highlight student voice and incorporate that in our professional learning.
Give her a hand.
We have a few more things, but we can give her a hand.
Oh, thank you.
So with that, to include with the embracing the messiness is like, what are our roles? They might not be clear cut. They might be messy. And then professional learning, like what does it look like, sound like, and the structure of it, and again, it can be messy, but then we also wrapped it back to joy. Like, let's bring joy back into the classroom, into our buildings, into math. One more. Oh, no. Oh, I think that was it. Kim? No?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was it. The 2 great ladies, thank you for talking.
So acknowledging the messiness, our systems are incoherent. But there are ways to reimagine them by looking at our roles and how we can do things differently and infusing joy into our PL systems.
Okay. Up next, we have local district leaders.
So when we looked at reimagining, everything we felt really was around PD, whether it's number talks, real world math, rolling it out to the teachers, not sit and get, when you have a meeting, teaching them about soft starts and play and discretionary spaces. It was really all kind of rolled into one package, was how we do PD back at the district level.
And then we said we were challenged by a lot of the ruts. People are stuck in their ruts, and if we don't know our focus of who, what, how is going to do the work to roll it out, then we're never going to get them out of the rut if we don't have the answers to those questions in place. So really just looking at the limits of our existing systems and how we're going to break out of them.
And related to the actionable steps, a few things that we found very important was to make sure that we identify where our teachers are, where the area that they live in, related to the essentials. Make sure that we focus on the values for the essentials, and then related to professional learning, coaching should be intertwined and focus on learning labs.
So you are thinking really hard about those organizational practices and how you can use your system to support your learners. I appreciate that. So many great ideas and challenges that you've lifted. Next up.
Next, we have consultants wearing different types of hats: MTSS, MySTEM, school improvement facilitators, and more.
Yes, we are the others from the island of misfits, right over here. So to start with, what are you reimagining? We said integrating and modeling play into PD experiences, i.e. soft starts. What are you challenged by? How do we, oh, I thought it was this one. That one? And you handed me the mic. The current educational system is not conducive to this type of instructional approach. We need to disrupt the system to create change. And then the last question was, what might be some actionable steps to bring the essentials to life? As an entry point, continue to build relationships with admin and work within these leadership teams.
So bringing play into our professional learning systems and really thinking about how to transform and disrupt this current system to enable essentials to come to life.
Next up, we have early childhood.
I know you all can be louder than that. So, we are looking at reimagining the way that professional learning is done and lifting up the identity of preschool teachers so that they can see the math opportunities that exist every day in their classrooms.
Thanks, Carrie. We were looked at what we were challenged by as preschool early childhood educators. Time was starred, highlighted, hearted, circled about 15 different times, so that was definitely one general consensus. And the other one we came up with was mindset of staff and lack of staff. I know none of you guys have problems with that, but that is one of the things that we're challenged by.
And to summarize, an actionable step would be to develop a team to support resource development, where our teams are at with math essential process, and build on practices that are already happening in the classroom.
I can appreciate that we're thinking about lifting the identities of our educators and helping them see themselves as mathematicians so that they can support the children that they're working with. So thanks for that first step.
And finally, we have educators who have direct impact with children in order to bring these essentials to life.
So it's definitely interesting hearing all the different perspectives, and I didn't think there were that many educators here. So we're the ones that are going to be implementing all of this stuff. So we're reimagining structures for roles and systems. We had structure written 1,000 times. Challenges, wow, sorry, that was loud. Time, resources, and teacher buy-in. Just from my perspective, we didn't know the math essentials existed until last week. So if that's me and my school, I'm sure that there's other educators that don't know about them either. Finally, the actionable steps would be to be prioritizing being essential and, again, time.
So I'm hearing them say that they really discussed how to make some shifts in structures and routines in their classrooms, and also are challenged by time. How do we bring the essentials to life when there's a lot on our plates? And how do we continue this movement and ensure that all educators are aware of the early instructional practices so that kids can have these meaningful experiences in their classrooms?
Thank you so much for engaging in this protocol with us. I think it's important to hear the voices of teams, but also as our different groups of leaders and educators from around the state. It's really helpful to think about where you're at currently as a group, and hopefully it'll support making next steps for your groups as you meet inside of your organizations. Up next, Rusty's going to introduce our afternoon keynote.
Please head back to home base.